Okay.
I'm trying to plug power. I guess I got it. Okay, so it's still connecting. I don't think they can hear me yet. And now I think it's now. So we are live. Thank you for joining us. This is the Jacksonville Java User Group, June 2021. This is the first meetup after a long time that we are doing at least partially in person. Everybody who can make it and wants to arrived, and this is how we intend to continue welcoming people to come and participate in person. And tech systems are kind enough to let us use their facility, and they also provide drinks and a pizza and even beer to the people who show up in person. And at the same time, we will continue to do it online as well, which also allows us to get speakers from out of town, but also viewers from out of town, which we had before. And yeah, I see that some people made these. You have. I'm just mentioning again. There is this reactions button at the bottom, which gives you all kind of emoji that you can make them float exactly. So and this is only the people that do it remotely can do that. The people that are sitting here, I represent them, so I will have to do it for them, like this, for example. So we will get started. We have Scott, who is a great guy. He has the website and project called Keep Calm and Refactor. He's an expert in taking over large chunks of code that is completely new to you and putting it under control. And we are going to learn from him some of his wisdom. So I'm going to leave the stage to Scott.
All right. Thank you much, Yael. So let me, I've got some slides to share. So I will do that. Entire screen, share, and we'll go there. So I trust you can see that. If you can't, you'll let me know. So let me tell you a story. In my day job, I support a 20-year-old Swing application, 750,000 lines of code. I mentioned this earlier. Is written almost exclusively by a geophysicist who taught himself how to program. And he's a really smart guy, incredibly prolific, no source control. If a bug was reported, he'd get in there, fix it, and push it out, and 3 other bugs would be created, and so he'd go and fix those and push it out. So it was always very exciting and very responsive, and now he's retired, and so this is my baby to take care of. Now, a few years ago, I happened across a handful of JUnit tests that some contractor had written when he was brought on the project. And they mostly failed. So I looked them over and I noticed that some of the tests were broken, but some of the tests were correct in validating certain data, and the code, the program, was broken, and this would corrupt the data. So I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and fix these tests, and I'll fix these broken parts of the code. And so I did that and got the tests to pass, and I was very proud of myself. And you can probably guess what happened next. Things broke everywhere. It was a whack-a-mole situation. So anyhow, so when you run across a situation like this, basically you can choose to rewrite the whole thing from scratch, or most people would generally just update their resume. But I'm going to suggest an alternative, and that is the approval tests tool. And it will make working on a system like this not just possible, but maybe even make it fun. So what is this approval test thing? It's a library that works with your testing tool to make it easier to verify your test results. It takes whatever your test result is and it compares it to what you expected to see, and then reports the red-green status back to your testing tool. And it's easier to see if I give you an example. So I will do that. Is this code large enough for y'all to see? I'm going to trust it is, otherwise someone will tell me. So first we'll try a simple example using our TDD skills, right? So let's say we've got to have this not at all contrived application that needs to uppercase a string, okay? So you pass text and it will uppercase it, and then I've got a toString that goes in and outputs the uppercased text, right? So what I'll do is I'll create my test. Let's go ahead and make that big 2. I'll create my test, and so I'll put some lowercase text. I'll get my string, I'll uppercase it, and well, you can tell I've been practicing. So normally what we would do is we would say approve dot, what's it? It's been so long since I used it. Approve. No, it's not approve. It's yeah, I should have written this down, but I didn't. Assert. That's it. Assert equals. Okay. What's up with this? JUnit. Okay, well, anyhow, you do your assert equals, and then if the text doesn't match the way you expect it to, then it will go and it'll say it doesn't match up. So you kind of have to copy it from where it was and then paste it into your assertion so that it all matches and everybody's happy. So, so what I like to do is this approvals test. So basically, what you'll do is you'll just say approvals dot verify, and we've got this test string, which is what we're uppercasing, and then you just run that. It will see if if it matches what you expected, and if not, it fires up your diff tool. In this case, I'm using Beyond Compare, and it will show what's different. So yeah, I didn't throw away my stuff that I expected it to. So basically, you can here, let me show you on the project. You see that it's got an uppercase string test, which is the name of the test file, and then test to string, which is the name of the test method, and it has an approved.txt and a received.txt. So you can see in the approved.txt, it's make me upper, and then in received.txt, it's also make me upper. So basically, approved is what I said I liked. So I then go and I run my test again, and if the approved matches the received, then I get a green bar, and it removes the received, and you keep the approved. Then you just check in the approved text file along with everything else, and it will do your unit testing every time, and you can see if anything changes. It will show you what's wrong in that approval file. So let's say, for instance, excuse me, I'm recovering from a sinus infection, so I've got a little residual cough. So let's say we need to test other conditions, like we need to look for an empty string, and we need to look for only a single character. Maybe we'll check for a mixed case, see if it works with a number. So we've got all these things we might want to test. And so what we'll do, like in this case, I've got I'll say uppercase string, UCS empty equals new uppercase string, and it'll be an empty string. Okay? And so then I don't need to do another approvals.verify. What I'll do is I'll say approvals.verify just that one time, and I'll test first the original one, and then just system.line separator, and then I'll say my UCS empty. And then I can run that test. We can, since we're doing TDD, we'll watch it fail. Okay. And then we see this is what we have, and that's what we expected it to have, and that's valid. So we'll just copy that over. We'll save it, close that. We run our test again. And we get our green bar. So it makes it very easy to do things the way you expect. Now, you can also, for instance, we've got this single character. So I can go in here and I can look at this and I can say, well, I know what I'm going to expect for a single character. So I'll have like A. So I'll go ahead and save that. And I go in my test. X will be A. Oh yeah. That needs to be uppercased, huh? So I know what I'm expecting, so I can just add that to my approval test here. And then I can run the test, and it should pass because I can predict what it's supposed to say, and I predicted correctly. And so I can go either way with my tests, I guess, is what I'm saying. The nice thing about having this approved file is I can see what exactly what it's doing. And if for whatever reason, like I make some change in the code that breaks things, then when I go and I run my test, the approval test will flag that. Say, okay, you broke something. So what used to say T equals sign, since you've got the diff tool showing you exactly where the problem is. So I can then say, okay, well, that's not good. I'll go back here and fix that. Run my test again. And sure enough, I pass, and I've got my approved file, and the other file is removed. So that's a pretty handy way to do things. let's see here. Make sure I covered everything. So yeah, I didn't have to create a pile of different assert statements, didn't have to go and try and figure out what everything was supposed to look like beforehand, unless I really wanted to. So everything worked right away, and it's really convenient how it just pops up your diff tool. If you don't have a diff tool, then it will down here in the whatever this screen, whatever that little window is called, the output window, it will basically have a path to the approved file and a path to the received file. So you can bring those up in an editor and eyeball them or look at them whatever tools you want to use. Approval test comes pre-configured to work with the most popular diff tools. For Windows, you've got WinDiff, you've got Beyond Compare, you got KDiff. I think KDiff also is cross-platform. You find that on Linux and Mac as well. So, do we have any questions about this so far? Let's see here. Assert, yeah, thank you. I should have thought of that. Okay, so it works with a string. What if I have like an array of strings I want to check? I want to see, I have another project here. It's called the natural sort. So, so basically, for a natural sort, you've got, for instance, you've got I've got this list of files in a folder, and you can see that in Windows Explorer, it sorts them as you expect. File 1, and then the numbers go as expected. But if you bring up a DOS window, it's kind of a mess. And of course, Bash is the same. So, so what I want to do is have a natural sort that goes and takes all these files, and it will sort them in the way I expect them to. So what I can do is I can pass an array or a list of strings, and I call the method here. Let me make this bigger so you can see. I call the method verify all, and that you'll pass a parameter here. So you'll pass a parameter here, which is the label that it's going to print out for each line, and it will say what's sorted. Now, just to show you how it works and everything, I'm going to run it first with a default string sort, and then I'll show you how you can edit that file. So we'll go ahead and run this. You'll see that it fails, and it goes and says, okay, you got this A file was up front, but you got all these other ones that are just in the wrong order. So what I can do, I kind of showed this to you before. For instance, I can say, okay, I want the 10 and 100, 11 to be down here at the bottom. 100 goes down here, and the 20 to go after the 10 and 11. So that's really how it ought to look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 20, 100. So we'll just go ahead and save that, because that's really what I'm expecting to see. Then I come over here and I'll turn this off, and I'll turn on my natural sort, and I'll run that. Now you see that it fails again. The file names are okay, but it's just these indexes that are wrong. Well, that's exactly what I expected it to show anyway, so I can just move all that over and save it. because that's really what I wanted to see. And it's very easy for me to go and have an idea of what I want to see, set things up so that my tests will test what I expect, and then I can get my green bar, and everything is working quickly and easily. So let's see here. Yeah, so if I go and I comment out this natural sort again, and I run the test one more time, you see it fails, and it fails like it did before. So it's doing what I expect it to do, which is a good thing. So so basically, this the approval test has a whole bunch of different ways to call it, and things that it can compare. So most of us don't have the luxury of editing, whatever, being able to create code from scratch. So what I have here is basically some code that I found from an old code, what's it called? Code retreat, and it's called Ugly Trivia. It basically runs this this simple trivia game. The code has lots of duplication, and there's system out print lines everywhere to show you everything that it's doing. And so what I did is I create this game runner test, and that's not what I want to do. I want to say game runner.main. No, we're not approving just yet. We're not logging either. I need to clean up my messes. Okay, so basically the way this works is this game runner will go ahead and instantiate the game. It'll add some users, and then it will go ahead and run it until it has a winner. So I can run this, and you can see the output at the bottom. It's got this long list of everything that happens in the game, and you can see that here you got Chet has 6 gold coins, so Chet was the winner. And let's see here, if I run it again, oh, Chet was the winner again. Chet's a lucky guy. Let's pop question 4. Well, anyway, so the point of it is that we've got this game runner, which goes and instantiates and runs the game. And so we go ahead and we create this test that goes and runs the game runner. And so if it runs, then we should have same stuff getting dumped out, and Pat won. So because we've got this this random thing in here to make sure that it runs different things. Okay, so first there's a book that I'm a big fan of. It's called Working Effectively with Legacy Code. And you can see that you need this book. It's one of my favorites. Michael Feathers, the cool thing about it is that it's organized with sort of every chapter starts with a question. How do I add a feature? I can't get this class into a test harness. What do I do? And he's got an answer for every question that you might have, and it's really handy. So on pages 186 to 189, he goes over the concept of what he calls characterization tests. And that is where effectively you'll go into the code and you'll lock it down so that you know what the state of the code is, and then you can go and refactor it, and you'll know whether or not you've changed anything that would break it. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in on this. All right, so we've got this game, and it prints out all this stuff at the bottom. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to capture all of that, print stuff, and stick it into a file so we can plug that into our approval tests. So what I can do is, we've just got this basically a system out print line everywhere. So I will just go and change system.out.print line, and I'll just change that to print. Okay, and now we can see that that doesn't work. So let's go ahead and create print method. So print string, and we'll call this text. Okay, and so here we'll do system out print line text. Right, so now this should work the same, except I see I've got 4 problems. Print pop questions, it's expecting an object. So then let's go back here and we'll change string to object. And now we've got all of our red is gone. So now if I go and run my test, it should it still prints everything out, which is good. So now, excuse me, what I want to do, I want to make sure I've got my approval tests in here. So in my project, so my libraries, I've added approval tests. You can also get approval tests. I'll show you. You can get it through Maven as well. So I'll show you how to do that. So we've got here, right. What I want to do is log this somewhere where approval tests can get it. And let me follow my notes to make sure I'm doing this right. So there is a feature in approval test, one of the utilities, where he's got what he's called a simple logger. So what we'll do is we'll just take the simple logger and say message, I'm sorry. Oh, import the class. I'll say message text. And it doesn't like that because it's an object. So text.toString. All right. So now, if I run this, we see that we've got everything logged, everything printed out before, but now it's also logged with a timestamp. So that's where our logger goes. So now what we'll do is we go to this is our test. So right here, what we'll do, we've got basically what the simple logger does is it has a function called log to string, which spits out a string buffer. So, and since this is a static object, basically you create it once and it's available to the whole application. So you don't have to worry about where anything. It's kind of like having a global, which is okay when you're testing. So then basically we get to the end and we'll say approvals verify the log. Okay, so then we'll run this test. And it should now, it prints everything out, but also we've got our log file, which has all the stuff that we needed. And let's just go ahead and move all that over. And we'll run the test again. Okay, so the test failed because it's got that randomizer in there. So if we go and we look at this game runner, we see that it goes and has this random thingy. Well, we want to be able to, we want to get that under control. So what we can do, we basically grab all the code inside the main, and we will go and extract a method. We'll call that main2. Okay. So now, but what we want to do here, let me see here. I got to follow my notes or I'll confuse myself. So right, so we got all that into main2, and then we want to take this random and we want to extract this. So go to our refactorings and extract that as a parameter. So now we'll call it random. Okay, so now we've got this random, which in main, when you call main as you did before, it passes in the random value. But if you call main2, you can pass in this random value and it goes and uses this random value throughout the code. So basically, we've taken that value that we didn't have control over. If you call it like you did before, it still runs exactly like it did before. So we have not changed any functionality. We've just gone and extracted this out. We've created a new function so that we can now call this and we can control what's in that random. Okay? So now, basically, instead of calling main, we'll call this main2 and we'll pass a random with a seed of 0. And oh, I see. Yeah. I have to make this public. Okay. So now if I run my test, we see what that does. Go ahead and move it all over and save it. Try one more time. And if I've done it properly, then everything should match. So it's all green. So basically now every time I run it, I know that I'm going to get the same output every time. So I've now got this pretty much under control, so that it's outputting the same. The only thing left to do now is to make sure that we've got code coverage. So basically we'll go ahead and run it with code coverage. And we have to add this this game to the classes to cover. And we see that basically we've got 50% of the methods in the runner, in the game runner, Well, that's because we've got the main and the main 2. We're not calling main for our test. We're calling main 2. So that's okay. And then here we've got 91% of the methods, 11 out of 12. So one of the methods isn't being called, and one of the lines isn't being executed. So we can take a look at that and see what's going on. So if we go through the code, we can see that this is red. This line is not being called, and is playable is gray. Is playable is never used. So we've got our code coverage, and we know we can safely delete this code because it's not even used. Now if I run this code coverage, it should give me 100%. 100% for all my code coverage. So now I wouldn't say I have complete confidence, but I have a lot of confidence that that any changes I make in this code to refactor it will be caught if I break anything. So I can go and begin refactoring this. Now think about this. I don't know how this works. I don't know, I have some idea of what it does just because of how it's called, but I have made just a few non-breaking changes to the code, and it's completely under test. And how long did that take? 5, maybe 10 minutes since I got myself confused there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a game changer. This is some exciting stuff. So there's lots of other ways that we can use this tool. It has a support library. You go in here to approval test, you see that's got a support library with lots of different utilities in it. One of the things that it does here, let's go ahead and open another project, which is insurance. Let's say, for instance, you want to get all the estimates for an insurance, some car insurance. You want to make sure that any changes to the algorithm are represented properly, and that you get it. So basically, I've got a very contrived application here, which you pass in the sex, the age, and the car type, and it goes and does a very complex calculation for how to determine what the insurance estimate should be. So basically, what we would do is approval test will go and generate every combination of every possible parameter that we can pass in there. So what I've done here is I have all the sexes that I want to know about in my computer program. I'm not going to be Facebook. I have ages. We have this other neat tool that's provided by Approval Test called range. So I want to get all the ages from 20 to 80. So that'll create an integer array of all numbers from 20 to 80 inclusive. And then I can get I've got my car types, very extensive collection of cars. And so I've got my different car types, and I put all those in an array. Then I call the combination approvals. Here, let me zoom this up so y'all can see what I'm doing here. Got the combination approvals, and I can say verify all combinations. And what you do is you pass in the method as a lambda, and then you pass in the arrays of different parameters that are allowed, and it will go and generate all the combinations of those parameters that could be passed to that function. So this, you figure you got what, 60 times 2 times 4, which you can see it went and generated all four for every age, for all the females, all the different car types, and then all the males at every age for all the different car types. And we've got this, we've got all our numbers. And how long did that take? You know, almost no time at all, which is really pretty exciting. It's handy. I know this is kind of a contrived example, but I'm sure you can think of examples when you could use this sort of thing to just go and make sure that, you know, you may have code coverage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've covered everything. So if you have a small enough set of data, of potential parameters, you can go and have it generate all the parameters and go and verify that nothing has changed if you decide to go in and change your algorithm for how you do all of this. That's one of the powerful functions that's built in that I really like. Okay, so what about UI testing? Well, if you're just doing web pages, you can get the resultant HTML and pass that into approvals.verify, because that's just a string. It's a straight text comparison. But also, excuse me, you can pass a swing panel. We go here, you can see approvals dot. You look at the verify functions here. You pass in any object, and you pass a component, which would basically be anything that's generated by Swing, any kind of control, a drop-down list box or whatever, and it will it will render that and compare the bitmap. My experience is that you kind of have to run your test on the same kind of machine that you're running your development on. Otherwise, things can be off by a pixel or two because, you know, different operating systems just generate things in Java differently. But you can see it'll compare images, it'll compare database result sets, it'll compare maps of data. It'll compare files. There's also, you know, the verify also, you pass in, let's see here. So you can pass in arrays of objects, iterators. It'll verify JSON. It'll verify each file in a directory, HTML, XML. It's, like I said, it's really very, very powerful, the stuff. He's been, the author is Llewellyn Falco. He's been working on this for a number of years. So basically, if you go to the website, it's approvaltests.com, and this is what it looks like. You can see that he's got the approval test library has been written for a number of different languages. He spends most of his time in C#, but there's a couple of us who are working on him, helping him out to get the Java, make sure the Java performance is, or support is kept up. He's got some nice documentation to give you a quick introduction to how it works. Excuse me. And if you go to the Java, it takes you to the GitHub site where all the stuff is at, and we're working on the documentation to get all of this put in for you, so that you can figure out how to use it. One other thing I wanted to show is you go to resources here. There are a number of videos that show you how to use approval tests. Most of them are in C#, but but you can still get the idea. The API is very similar. So in here we also have there's the approval test documentation, which it goes through all the different printable wrappers. So basically, if you have a diff tool that isn't one of the default supported ones, you can go, it explains how you can go and configure it to pass the parameters properly to your diff tool, so it can use that one. It shows you how to verify images and machine name specific tests, so it can get access to your machine data. In addition to that, there's a number of utilities, and we've just started documenting this. But for instance, there's a number of string utilities. So like if you've got strings and you want to join them together, he's got utilities that make it really easy to do that and format it as well. There's arrays, so you can have anything you want in an array and make it a comparable array. Instead of, it doesn't have to be objects, so that you can then do things like to array and that sort of thing, and it will output the type that you like, which is really intensely frustrating in Java that you can't do that. Of course, there's the simple logger that I showed you a little bit about how that works. This has got a little more explanation about it. One cool thing is if you look in the approvals main branch here, he has Java koans. So if you want to figure out how to use this, he's got koans that you can use to learn how to set up an approval test and to get it to work the way that you like, and make sure that you're using it properly. Here, I don't know how to size this up, but I can just show you real quickly. If you look in the approval tests, there's the utils somewhere in here. That's the combinations, org, approval tests. Yeah, this com.spun util. So that has database functions so that you can do special whatever, that's got special functions to help you work in a database. How to work with images. It's got date utilities, so it'll do a date range filter or figure out what how to define a week or that sort of thing. Lots of things there. He's got countries. He's got colors, class utils. Let's see here. There's just a whole bunch of things in here. If there's something in here that looks interesting and it's not documented, just drop me a line and I'll make sure we get it documented. Like I said, we're working on the documentation to get it all documented so people can really start taking advantage of this really useful tool. That's really, I mean, I can show you more, but I don't want to completely overwhelm you. So I will just kind of leave it at that and open it up to questions. Again, my name is Scott Wierschem. You can follow me on Twitter at Scott_Wierschem. And my website is keepcalmandrefactor.com, the Keep Calm and Refactor project. You can go to lowhangingbook.com and get a free ebook. I've got mine there. EL actually has one there for artificial intelligence, and so you can take advantage of the expertise of the group. And I guess for that's really all I have to say for now. And I will I'll come back and join and see if there's any questions. You're muted. There we go.
I just had a question about the approval test. Is there any way that if there is a case that you don't always get exactly the same, let's say that you get one of three possible, or you have a range permissible responses. Is there a way for you to define that, to say that there is some variation?
So your solution is one of three, and any of those three would be valid.
Or there is a number. If then the result is between 1 and 5, then it's okay.
Right.
Because it uses diff, it sounds like maybe the only answer is to create a lot of files that it will diff each one of them. But
right.
But
I know that we've talked about this. It's probably available. I will be talking to Llewellyn tomorrow. I can ask him. I will make a note of that now.
And what is this other thing behind you?
This thing? That's Duke. Yes, the last Oracle conference that we had, at the end of the show, we had all these big Duke stickers on the support posts, and I was just kind of hanging out late because I had some time to kill, and I said, that's a really cool sticker, and I know what's going to happen in about an hour. The cleaning crew is going to come through, they're going to tear it down, they're going to bunch it up, and they're going to throw it away. I'd like to take that home and stick it on my wall. So I went to one of the trash cans and pulled out a trash liner, and I peeled that carefully off the wall with the help of a friend of mine here, and stuck it to that liner and rolled it up and brought it home. And so,
looks like it belongs.
You what?
Looks like it belongs on your wall.
Yes. It's it helps me to rock Java all the time.
Anyone in the room here has any questions?
Let's go to Q&A. What made you choose to work with approvals for acceptance tests over something like Cucumber? Frankly, I haven't used, I'm not familiar with Cucumber. I've seen it. Cucumber, my understanding is it's a BDD type tool that you would that you'd use to sort of define what your tests need to be. Approvals is a way to I guess implement the Cucumber specifications. So it makes it easier to go and do all that stuff. And frankly, I will admit my ignorance. I don't know a lot about how Cucumber works. I saw a couple of demos, and it was basically defining the steps. If Cucumber does all of this, then sure, I'll look into it and see how it solves that problem.
I believe it does indeed define the structure of tests, and it enables you to choose all kind of inputs, but you have to glue it into the test. And
okay.
You have to basically say when you say that the input is this, what does it mean? You have to write a code that implements it using annotation.
Okay.
And it does not do the verification. But basically,
okay, so then it sounds like they'd work together well.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Actually, okay. So you have our approval. If Jyoti was here, that's what he would say. We have a guy. I don't know if you ever met him online, but that's pretty much what he would say. Yes, we all agree that he would say that.
Okay.
So you have our approval for your presentation.
Okay, very good.
So let's put the thumbs up there.
Excellent. All righty then.
Okay, so this is also recorded. We will put it. We have a channel now for the JaxJUG on YouTube, so the recording will go there. If I said anything stupid, I'm going to edit it out. No. And it will be there in a couple of days. So Scott, it was a pleasure having you.
Always.
Thank you very much. And thank you for everybody else online and in person. And we hope to see you soon again.
All right. Looking forward to it. I really enjoyed it. It's good to meet everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope hurricane season is very boring for you this year.
Likewise.
Okay, we'll end the session. Thanks, everybody.
All right.